unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting booty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Small Town Underground on this Wednesday night live stream. Glad to see everybody out. We're just now getting started, getting everything up. If you don't care, please share the link. Of course, Facebook is limiting the groups shares. And, of course, they're going to start deleting our live streams after 30 days starting July. So it's wonderful. They're just doing everything they can to keep us sorry about that. To keep us into I went down into a cavern there, keep us from speaking and keeping our content up. So anyway, tonight I got a special guest. Antonio Jones from the War Room is going to co-host with me tonight. And how are you doing? Dude, your show, I have not got to watch every part of it today, but we've got it posted. If you haven't seen the War Room show from today, wow. What I got to hear was absolute fire. Clay Parikh just makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. So,
yeah, man, a lot of great guests, man. Yes. And Eubank, we had Denise Sorkness talking about the thievery of how they're stealing our money in the state of Georgia through the university system. I'm talking about thousands. And just a sneak peek, she worked for I guess a head of a board of regents or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
the university system, right?
I think she witnessed maybe about 300 grand stolen in one swipe. That's just a tip of the iceberg, but it's just disgusting to hear this stuff, man. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. By the way, tonight, guys, is a call-in line. I got the call-in number up. If you would like to call in, we're going to have a Catherine Bernard join us here at about, well, just in a couple minutes actually, and we're going to kind of go right into it. So I got my phone hooked up here, and we're going to do a call-in tonight because we're going to cover just a few things and just play catch up with the latest. But the first things first, we're going to have a conversation about this recent Colton Moore, the Moore versus Williams trial that happened on March 7th. As you no doubt know, I took the entire weekend off, so I had to play catch up. And I was so mad when I saw these posts come out about this case. And I haven't found the video clip that I wanted to of actually. I think it was the Georgia record. We may look that up here in a little bit. I got a bunch of other stuff pulled up, but I was just freaking mad to my core that this judge ruled this way. He would not issue a warrant. And so I've got a couple of spots marked that I'm going to kind of highlight from the trial. And we're going to get to hear from Catherine Bernard, who was his Colton Moore's attorney over this. And we're going to dial her up here in just a second. And Antonio, give me your thoughts real quick.
Man, I was pretty hot after seeing that verdict unfold like that. We did a piece today on War Room that featured a clip from the movie The Devil's Advocate. And, our Constitution is only as good as people of integrity that's going to stand up, that are in these positions and do the right thing. And that's going to include judges. It's going to include legislators and a good executive branch. And it's going to include lawyers, too.
Right.
I didn't really know who Phil Holloway was. There was some back and forth online because Kylie Kramer had put a post up, and she was saying, well, nobody had any idea that she was going to step in the fold and defend Keith Williams.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's going on here? You present yourself as America first or whatever the case may be. Maybe he does or doesn't. But my thing is this, you swore an oath to the Constitution. And is this going to be a part of your legacy where the details of how this all unfolded and you stand up and this is what you use your talent for? And that's exactly what the guy did in Devil's Advocate. Yes. And in the clip that I used, that we used and we put out today, it was Keanu Reeves was the lawyer. And he obviously knew the person that he was representing was guilty, but he was such a good lawyer. All he cared about was winning, and integrity.
That was okay. The Devil's Advocate.
It was pretty interesting, but man, I'm telling you, I to answer your question, I was mad. I was pretty mad, and I'd be mad if it was anybody. If somebody done an injustice like that, then the judge sits up here.
That's right.
And makes a call and decision like that. That just undermines the system and people's faith and confidence in it when they tell you, basically say, don't believe your lying eyes. We're just going to do what we want to do.
You are not kidding. So we're going to go ahead and call Catherine. She is gracious enough to give us a few minutes and kind of give us her overview of the case. So here we go. Antonio, you probably can't hear the number, can you?
I can hear everything.
Oh, okay.
I hear it ringing. Sounds good.
Wonderful.
Catherine Bernard.
Hey, hello, Catherine. How are you doing? Thank you so much.
Hey, Roy. Am I on the air yet? Happy to be on your show tonight.
Yes, ma'am. You are on air. Antonio Jones is sitting in co-host with me tonight. He had a great show on War Room today, and I wanted to kind of break this down with him because I'm hoping he's gonna help keep me from getting kicked off of Facebook because every time I think about this, I get mad. I've watched the entire 3 hours that Ted Metz put out where he was gracious enough to record it. I've got some stuff marked, and so thank you for coming on the show tonight. And, naturally, Colton Moore is my state senator up here. A lot of people are going to be watching this. So I wanted you to kind of give us a little bit of overview. Tell us how you feel about the case and what your thoughts are on all of this.
Well, I was actually pretty happy with the quote the AJC ran from me. I'm just disappointed that the person who assaulted Colton Moore down at the state capitol was not held accountable at the warrant application hearing. So we are filing a motion for reconsideration. We are appealing the decision because we don't think the judge applied the law properly. There was absolutely probable cause of battery and potentially other crimes, interference with government property, disruption of Senate and House proceedings. We think that there was ample evidence for probable cause, which is a very low bar, simply in the video that was shown. And what was frustrating for us at the hearing is that the other side was allowed to sort of make the allegation that Colton wasn't allowed to be on the House floor, and we weren't allowed to go into the details showing that actually he had the full legal right to be there, indeed the constitutional obligation, and the people suggesting otherwise are relying on dishonest implications to do that. You know, people say, oh, Colton broke the rules. Oh, Colton didn't pick the right time or place. No, Colton spoke against a piece of legislation when it was brought to the floor. That is what he did. And the idea that he can be legitimately subjected to violence from a House staffer for doing that is incredibly dangerous for our republic. And so we will absolutely continue to pursue this and make sure that as many people as possible have eyes on this injustice.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And you won't be able to hear Antonio, but he can hear you loud and clear. That's what.
Hey, Antonio.
Tell her what's up,
He said,
Catherine.
"What's up, Catherine?" What is most astounding to me is the fact that you had video evidence, exactly what you're laying out here. It's astounding, especially we go back to the beginning of this whole debacle when they were trying to run the narrative that he was insulting this person during a funeral procession. You know, the whole perception of this when he was actually on the floor yielding his time on a vote. And to think that this whole thing can transpire, and then we have video evidence of a man assaulting him in the Capitol, throwing him to the ground. It's astounding to me. Do you think that if this hadn't happened, or if this was in a grocery store, or if it was not a state senator on the Capitol grounds, do you think for a second that a warrant would not be issued for that person?
It's hard to imagine that this would have happened without the political overtone, simply if you're just talking about two people on the street. But that was actually one of the concerning things about the way that Keith Williams' defense attorneys treated the case was they actually used the analogy, you know, this is just like someone being criminal trespassed from the QT. So they presented it as sort of a private property situation where Colton was being legitimately barred. And so that's what was so troubling about the decision. You know, not only is this the people's house to which there are constitutional obligations, but this idea that, you know, again, that Colton was somehow being aggressive or seeking, you know, that there was some kind of back and forth. There was no back and forth. You had one man peacefully seeking to walk into the place he was constitutionally obligated to be, and other people putting their hands on him.
Right. 100%. Also, I want to point out a couple things in the case I found interesting, how the complete opening of this case, the opening remarks, comments, had relatively little to do with the fact of what you guys are there. And the judge actually called that out, said, look, what we're dealing with is a warrant to that of in the moment, right? Because they were citing all of these other things. And, you know, that gave me hope watching the video. I mean, I already knew the outcome, that, you know, at least he was going to look at this thing the way that everybody else sees it. I don't think there's any argument here that he was assaulted. Just like you said, the AJC ran with the headline, which we have that. But I'm completely appalled. And I want to mention one other thing, the subpoenas. Can you kind of walk us through how the subpoenas and the quashing of that went? Because I found that most fascinating, the way that played out.
I can, but I did want to take one opportunity to go back and note that you're right. The judge did make what seemed like some good calls, especially early on when Keith Williams' defense attorneys were making the argument that he was some sort of agent of the House Speaker who had the authority to even imprison Colton for violation of House rules. Seemed like a bit of a contradiction with what they later argued. But I want to say, Judge Bobby Wolf in Fulton County, there are much worse judges out there. He is a generally very fair-minded guy who actually, he did let us speak more than probably some judges would have. And so while I am disappointed with the outcome, I do want to encourage people who don't spend as much time in Fulton County courts or courts anywhere in Georgia to recognize that as judges go, you can do a lot worse. And that might be a scary prospect, but anybody who has practiced in front of different judges, I got to give a little credit to Judge Wolf, even though I do disagree with his decision.
Yeah, especially in Fulton County, I'm sure. And, he even openly admitted that he was the one that signed the obstruction warrant paper. And I felt like he was being fair. But again, when we go back to the ruling, and it's just a mess. But
well, I'm hopeful on our motion for reconsideration. We did have some technical difficulties with playing the full version of the video we wanted to, with the way the courtroom's tech was set up and the lags. So we're gonna have a full copy of that available with the motion for reconsideration. And there was a lot going on. As you mentioned, there were a number of folks there to quash their subpoenas. So there was a lot going on. And so, everybody deserves the best chance to make the best decision. And so we're going to make sure that the judge has all of that available.
Yes, I want to point out that the motion to quash is, it seems like that each person that was subpoenaed they threw the law book down, every statute they could possibly throw down, only for when you stood up and said, yes, we understand, Judge, but we didn't pick this day, and this happens to be a legislative day where they would be available to come. And it just it made me laugh, because I'm like, you're 100% right. They could have totally been in that courtroom, but they did not want to touch it. Am I wrong?
That was our impression, because really, Colton is not trying to harass anybody with subpoenas. He's just trying to get the truth out there. The court is entitled to every man's evidence. And it is true. There is a statute that exempts folks from, who are in the legislature from having to honor subpoenas during that time. But, we had hoped that maybe some folks would be willing to come in and offer their perspective and help get this cleared up. But as we saw from the motions to quash, which were all accompanied by pretty lengthy briefs, these folks are disclaiming knowledge, saying they have nothing to do with it. And so that's going to be the ultimate question to resolve: how Speaker John Burns and Terry England, his chief of staff, former state representative, how they can simultaneously take the position that they have nothing to do with Keith Williams or his actions, but yet Keith Williams's actions are justified because of authority he was cloaked with by the Speaker of the House.
You're absolutely correct. And so what, just give us whatever general insight you can give us into the people. What's next? What do you think's next?
Well, like I said, we are putting forward a motion for reconsideration. I honestly, I was even pleasantly surprised by the reaction we've gotten after last Friday's hearing. We made it on the national news, and I heard from people all over who were really concerned about what this means, that someone can attack someone else in the Capitol and have no accountability in this way. And so, hope springs eternal. Like I said, we want to make sure that the judge has the opportunity to view the full video from all the angles. And so we're going to make sure to make that available to him. In the event that we don't get a reconsideration, we will be appealing up to the Fulton County Superior Court. And, more visibility equals better outcomes. That's why we have courthouses in the middle of town. That's why we have open court where everybody can come and see what's going on. And so I do hope that the attention that you and other great folks are giving to these proceedings will help push us towards a more just outcome, because I don't think a lot of people can look into their heart and really say it's okay to use violence against a senator because he spoke against a piece of legislation. I don't think they're comfortable with that.
No.
And I think the more we can get that very plainly before the court, I have hope that we'll get to a good outcome.
I hope.
Can you ask Catherine a question?
Sure.
Colton deserves it. He works so hard to make the right call as a senator all the time.
Yes.
And one of the things I have noticed is how much respect the people working in the Capitol have for him, the people working in the Fulton County Courthouse. You know, they may have brute forced a win out of Friday, but for the people who watch magistrate hearings over and over again, the people who work in the courthouse, the people who cover these proceedings, there's a lot of sympathy for Colton and a lot of feeling like he's doing the right thing and the system is doing him wrong.
That's 100%, Kath. We're only going to have you for a couple more minutes. Antonio, I'm going to relay a question from Antonio for you. Go ahead, Antonio.
I wanted you to ask her what was their claim of Keith Williams' capacity that he was operating in that day if he was not up under the direction of the speaker.
Right. He wants to know what was their claim for the capacity that Keith Williams was working under if he wasn't working under, John Burns. What did they bring that up?
No. And that's what we are hoping to reconcile and resolve is, the position that Speaker Burns is taking in his brief to quash the subpoena is not consistent with Keith Williams acting under legitimate authority from the Speaker of the House.
100%, Catherine.
Would that not be like in a hospital, a janitor coming in performing a surgery?
Yeah, he's making it like a janitor coming in under a hospital under surgery. I mean, obviously, see, I didn't think I remembered him even exploring that. And so, Catherine, really quick, you are working on a case we discussed. Would you like to say anything about that so we can get some of that out?
Absolutely. I've got the honor of representing Carrie Timms in a proceeding up in Gordon County in Calhoun, Georgia. Trial actually started back on March 3rd. We picked a jury, and we are in the middle of witnesses in the state's presentation of its case. The trial is going to start back on March 24th and go maybe a week and a half past that. And it's a family whose child was taken from them by DFACS after a medical diagnosis. Well, there's a question as to whether it was after the diagnoses that came out with the witness today. But basically, you have people who took their child into the doctor to figure out what was going on with something on his face and ended up getting kicked out of the hospital, and the state kept their baby.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've heard of this case, actually, but...
It was covered on 11 Alive. The prosecutor brought that up in jury selection and called it basically propaganda. So, if anyone wants to read the 11 Alive coverage of Carrie Timms and her husband Brady Timms, there's also Rebecca Lindstrom from 11 Alive has done a documentary, Help That Harms, that talks about this disturbing trend in Georgia and other places of these medical diagnoses of child abuse, where parents are just fighting for an explanation of what's going on with their kid, and then find themselves facing, the state seizing custody.
Yeah, right, the wrath of the state. Well, Catherine, I'm going to be looking into this case, and I just want to tell you how much me and Antonio, all of our viewers, we appreciate you. You are a rock star. We love you. You're doing great work. And always want to support you and the efforts you're doing. And again, on behalf of the 53rd District, we thank you for all the work that you're doing with our state senator.
Absolutely. Well, it's important work for the Republic. Really appreciate everything you're doing, Roy and Antonio. Both of y'all are just doing wonders for transparency and accountability. So please keep shining the light on all of these issues, and look forward to talking with y'all again soon.
Well, thank you so much. You have a great evening.
Take care. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow.
Yeah. Outstanding. She is doing great work.
Yeah. I mean, when you asked that question, I was thinking, that was brought up very briefly, but nobody wanted to touch on that in the video. You brought up a really good point, Antonio. who is this dude and who gives him the authority? We know that they had meetings the day before. We know they had the black curtain up, the COVID curtain when we were there. We know that everything was set. The motions were set in stage to not let this senator in, despite Senate Resolution 4, despite his constitutional duty. How on earth could a judge look at all of this evidence and say that there wasn't a miscarriage of justice here?
Yeah, and not want to know the baseline of what capacity he was operating in.
Sure.
Because that is going in. Hey, that might be the thing right there. That is going to tell everybody exactly what they need to know about this situation, because legally, as far as like what, Senator Hurt got himself hurt that day. Right. It's like, who's responsible? Okay, if I'm the Speaker of the House and I tell some guy that's supposed to be my general counsel, who, by the way, hasn't completed the bar exam in Georgia, from what I hear, to stand up here and be a security guard, and then I have the state police officers standing on each side of him, and nobody moves a finger. That is their responsibility. So there are all kinds of problems that's associated with this.
Sure, and I'm sure they don't want to bring up the fact that the Capitol building is not even owned by we the people. The Capitol building is actually owned by a development authority that pays the bills.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, that's absolutely correct.
You mean we're leasing the building?
Yep, it means the building's leased. The Capitol doesn't belong to the people. See, they can't borrow money and do things against the building, and then the only people that have arrest powers in the building are the Capitol Police, henceforth. So, yeah, there's a little, you get down into the weeds of everything, which is where I think we're going to go tonight with a lot of this stuff. All right, because I want to bring up a question that I posed. And let's see, let me find it earlier. The night that this dropped for me, you and me, we talk nearly every day. We talk about all kinds of stuff, and just how we see things on Georgia. And so I might look for this question really quick, and we're going to talk about Massey and Trump in a little while too. So I think we got to get into that, okay? I don't want I don't want to get crucified or Salem witch trial on that one. But this is my question: would or could the Democrats be any worse than the absolute blank show that is playing out with the Republicans? Right? Well, I mean, look, everybody's talking about incremental changes and slow rolling and getting things right, right? What has happened here when you have a majority of a House and Senate and a majority leadership state where you can do some real legislative changes for the people and fix a lot of this stuff, and nothing's getting done, right? We've seen 400 bills go in, roughly, right? 400 bills. So many bills that we haven't been able to keep track of, right? And a majority of these bills going through Georgia have to do with, well, we need to protect the pesticide companies. We need to protect our industries from PFAS. We need to all of these protections in place that set us up for this this sort of industrial corporatocracy. All right.
You ever notice that most of those bills is just about more money for corporations, or more of our money being spent, which is basically the same thing?
Sure. Because
they need money in the system and able to capture those funds.
It's crazy to me. We're talking about a Doge. We're talking about 2026 coming up. I mean, you know as well as I do, as soon as our Republican convention happens, as soon as it's over with, the day after, it's going to be like a smorgasbord of people coming out wanting to swap seats, wanting to move over here, wanting your vote, and they're going to start telling you everything that they want you to believe in them. And it's going, and I'm sitting here looking at this and thinking about this case. One senator censured from a House chamber, all right, and then assaulted for going in to do his civic duty. And we're talking about subpoenas of people
and put in jail, arrested. He wasn't just charged; he was arrested and charged. Going to court.
Perp walked out of the Capitol and put in jail down there with Fannie
Willis.
To be made an example out of, to show the rest of the people that they need to stay the crap off of their territory. Is that not not how you feel?
Yeah, you know, it is what it is, and see, this is what I got to say to with people that call themselves Republican. I know me and you are far past the party stuff and all of that. You know, it's a uniparty, it's an elite. But for those that's trying to grow the party and stuff, it's like, why would somebody thinking about being that's been a Democrat all this time be like, well, okay, I'm gonna leave depravity to go over into corruption? It's like, okay, I'm gonna jump out of this alcohol and I'm gonna get in this gasoline. Well, if you throw a match in either one of them, they're gonna both catch on fire.
Right.
So, we got to clean this stuff up. And I think a good idea, and I don't know if people do this, to start scoring bills. Because we score like the legislators all the time.
Yeah.
You know, that's what popped in my head. You say, well, okay, we got 400 bills that's just been kind of swept on us. Now, I don't know if it's a way, this might be a thing with Elon and Doge that they can come up with an AI that can read through these bills rapidly and just go ahead and grade them.
And we would have to be.
Start pre-grading people before because what they're doing is they're sticking us, Roy, by going into session, and they're using the time clock against us because they got to be in session. They got to have went ahead and casted a vote on this stuff, and we can't catch them while the game is still being played, and we have to turn around and wait till next year because they're killing us on the time clock right now.
They are. I don't know how many bills have actually made it through crossover, right? And especially, look, in our game, you know, we're not professionals, so every now and then I got to skip a couple of days, you know.
Me too.
But you cannot be plugged into this all the time, and the system is designed to be complex. And we know this because the system started out even in the old days. Now, I know technology's changed and whatnot, but used to you would present a bill, and then they would, you know, the legislature would take a week and go back to talk to their communities about this bill. Now, I understand that we're not back in, you know, wagon wheel days. You know, we're not in 1776, but we're not wasting any time at all. The machine is so complex that it has to pass through all of these committees, and it changes 15 different ways until on the other side of crossover it could be a completely different number. And if you're not plugged into this and you're not paying absolute attention, guess what? You're going to miss something. And there are bills that have already been signed by our governor. And I'm not even saying bad bills. There's a couple really good bills that have come through. It's already been signed by our governor that wasn't even on my radar, you know, and after doing extensive searching for this stuff. So it is insanely complex, right?
Yeah, really complex.
I don't know.
You're claiming everything that goes through is bad, but it's, you know, it's like a balancing scale. So if we got 400 bills and just say 20 of those get through or whatever and actually get signed into law, if 14 of those were kind of like whatever and it's bad, and then only 6 of them was good, we're losing the game.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. And I hope there wasn't any echo there. I'm trying to...
No, everything sound good on my side.
Good. All right. So what I want to cover next, Antonio, is I want to... You pretty much answered my question about the Democrats, the way they work. Now, why have they been so quiet and silent, right? The only thing you hear out of the Democrats is John Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock saying that men should be allowed to compete in women's sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to play a clip, and I hope that you can hear this clip. It's the one that's been floating around about Stacey Abrams explaining her $1.9 billion, okay?
Okay.
And then I'm going to move into this next. So I'm going to pull it up here, and here we go.
One of the ironies of the attack on you, and I'm going to play what he did, was that my understanding is that the program at the source of this whole thing is a program to lower costs for people. Do I have that top line correct?
You have it absolutely right.
Okay, so I'm gonna play what he had to say, and then I'm gonna ask you to explain what the program is that was such an obvious, ludicrous laugh line for the Republicans there. Take a listen.
$1.9 billion to recently created decarbonization of homes committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her?
Okay, so what is this organization? What is your relation to it, and what does it do?
In 2023 and 2024, I led a program called Vitalizing DeSoto. We worked in a tiny town in South Georgia to demonstrate that by replacing energy inefficient appliances with efficient appliances, you can lower your costs. And in fact, we accomplished that. For 75% of the community, they got appliances that are lowering their bills right now. We had one woman who saw her electric bill cut in half from $180 to $98.
Okay, were you able to hear that?
I wasn't able to hear none of it.
So
you can brief me on it if you want to.
Basically, the clip was about she's come out and got caught red-handed with this $1.9 billion that was recently sent out. We know of another several billion earmarked, and I'm getting different numbers here from different articles. And basically, her claim to fame on climate change was that she was going to these small towns, and they were installing refrigerators and stoves into people's houses to lower their electric bills, and that was their climate change bill, and that's why that she was getting this money. And basically, you just create a think tank, nonprofit, whatever, and put climate change in the title, and all of a sudden you've got USAID, taxpayer slush funds, just shoving billions out the door for you. That's all it takes. And my question is how on earth could that much money get funneled to any organization in the state of Georgia and not throw up some sort of red flag or not send off some kind of an alarm? And so we're in this Republican state. Stacey Abrams was beat by Governor Kemp of this state. The Democrats are silent.
You got to do air quotes on that. Beat by.
Yeah, silent. They're silent on most issues, floating around, just making deals with the Republicrats in office about gun safety storage, and then we find out that all of this money was fixing. Well, I guess some of it did. Maybe I'm sure that Stacey Abrams didn't go out and buy those refrigerators herself, right? The taxpayers bought this stuff.
Man, okay.
Is this not some of the craziest stuff you've ever heard in your life?
It is, and my theory of the case is the reason why noise being made is because it's probably been a lot of money put in that wagon. Criminals. This how criminals think. They think in terms of like territory. So if you got some drug dealer that's selling dope up on some block or whatever, and somebody roll in with a bag of money or whatever, or their sales start piping off, what's gonna happen? The people from that territory are gonna do what? They're gonna go and see about that person who got that bag of money. This is what geopolitics is. Mm-hmm. So we be a bit naive overall as just citizens of Georgia if we didn't think that they know what kind of money is rolling up in here. Like, come on, you can't even go in your backyard and disturb a creek without, them telling you, hey, you got to stay 20 feet away from this waterway. That's right. So you mean to tell me Stacey Abrams going to roll in here with $1.9 billion or potentially, or been buying up all this stuff on the block, and ain't nobody else getting paid, nobody in the Republican Party getting paid behind this to be quiet and stay out of this? It don't work like that, Roy.
No, and you have to notice the Democrats were screaming election integrity for years until we got some real players involved looking into this. What do you look? Any politicians out there, anybody that's watching this, what do you think the perception is on anybody who peels this back and looks into it, right? All of a sudden, these people are quiet. Everybody's quiet and everybody's just accepting everything that's going on. That sounds like to me a couple kids inside of a bedroom fighting, and then all of a sudden mama comes in and says, hey, I'm about to spank y'all, and guess what? They shut up. There's a deal made there, a quid pro quo. That's what it looks like. Am I saying I have proof? Absolutely not. But the perception of it is that something's going on. And if we think this, and then all of a sudden at the end of a Biden presidency, we see billions of dollars being funneled into our own state and nobody blinks an eye. What do you think that we're gonna think that What do you think?
Yep.
It's a payoff.
It's a payoff. We quiet.
With
Okay, we
our
go like
money.
you go from one end of making a whole lot of noise about an issue. Now all of a sudden you quiet. It's like it never existed. It's because I believe the Democrats really don't care about who in power. They just care about if they getting what they want.
The money. Look at it here. You look at the Summer of Love versus now. They can't even muster people up. I mean, you've seen the clip, I'm sure, of these Democrat talking heads, the Pocahontas and Adam Schifferbrains and all these. They've got the little microphone. We can play it. They got the little microphone up to them, and they're saying the exact same script. All right. Truth Stream Media had a beautiful, beautiful video about this, about how coordinated all of their talking points are. We can see through it just as plain as day, but it's every bit of this just controlled. Are they leading us into some artificial universe here where we don't even need these people? It's beyond me. They can't even muster up any support because guess what? They were using all of our money to pay these people to go out and do this. It's plain as day.
They were.
Tell you what.
All this stuff leads into the was June 21. Lady we talked to earlier, Miss Ann.
Come on.
Eubank, and a lot of the Joint Development Authority, things that you have a concern about up in your area, all the building that's going on, and it's like nobody cares that it's going. Everybody's getting paid, but I would pose a question to her. Do these people, when I say these people, that's like our legislator, leadership, anybody that's running the city council, you're destroying your quality of life. You're being used to usher in this 2030 agenda. That's right. To have you all in these 15-minute cities. Do you think whatever little money they breaking you off, you think that's going to last? It's not. You just getting used.
I don't know.
The only thing a dictator hates is a traitor.
That's
you
right.
selling your own people out. You're going to be the first one they get rid of if you continue on down this path.
You're 100% right. I want to highlight this article. I'm pulling up from Blaze Media. It says, bigger than Watergate. This is by Glenn Beck. How Stacey Abrams was gifted $7 billion of your money. Okay?
$7 billion.
Yeah. Biden and the Harris via the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, funneled $7 billion into a ghost fund called the United Climate Fund. This was part of a $20 billion jackpot from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund that was tacked and tucked in so you could really find it in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act that had nothing to do with reducing inflation, nothing. It was a scam, right? Which is a CR, right? Which we're going to get to in a little bit. They sold us climate salvation, but what it really was robbery. And then, of course, a black hole of legal fees, vague solar promises, right here says, for example, we find out that they were funneling cash to Power Forward Communities, which was tied to former Georgia State Rep Stacey Abrams. Before receiving the $2 billion grant, she had only raised $100, says Glenn Beck. That's all she could raise for her own organization. According to $100 was all they had in there, and they got a $2 billion grant.
So where is the IRS and all these other people, or they can't pull up on these people and audit them because it's a nonprofit? Is that how this works?
Yeah. Well, basically, the way I've watched it on several pundits is basically you start up. First off, you got to be in the Democrat Party. You got to be tied in. And then you got to create your own little LLC, and it's got to be something, power, climate change, refund, blah, yada. And then you put a little bit of money into account. And then you turn it into the federal government. Federal government looks at it, says, oh, yeah, this is Stacey Abrams. This is, you're gonna buy people a refrigerator. So we're going to give you $2 billion to go on and do whatever you want to do with. And what do you think? No receipts, no nothing. And then they claim they go to some town and put a bunch of stoves and refrigerators in there. I mean, this is asinine, and this is the type of thing, and it is shameful. It is shameful, and it is in Georgia, and we are finding this out only because Donald Trump is president, and they are doing Doge activities up at the White House. If Kamala Harris had been president, we never would have known this. There would never been a red flag in Georgia. none of our leadership or our legislature in the Gold Dome or anywhere else would have said a word about this. And it was just a hush money payoff, whatever. Thanks for being quiet about 2022, you name it. And we would have not ever known this. And this was late in the game. They were already finding billions upon billions of dollars. Now, again, and I want to re-emphasize this point. We've all been thinking for the longest time that there was some deals, some backroom deals made with Stacey Abrams and our leadership around the 2022 mark. And people have talked about it and said, what is the game plan here? And all of a sudden we find this. Tell me that what the perception is obviously a payout. But what are we supposed to think about this, man? This is insanity.
You think it's a coincidence that this is tied to the same person they went into the consent decree? Another thing that Miss Ann was talking about on this earlier today,
yes,
when we had her, was they had to have those two senators, Warnock and Ossoff, and they had to steal 20. And she said, you can go look it up, because the World Economic Forum has started saying that Trump is going to throw off our timing for 2030.
Sure. Trump will. We threw, look, there's so much empirical evidence to show when you're talking about Agenda 2030 and the World Economic Forum and these white pages that COVID was actually brought out early because of the Trump administration. We've said it a million times on this show. Donald Trump became president. It was a total anomaly. He was not supposed to win. They did not have the algorithms done right on the 2020 election. I mean, the 2016 election. Hillary Clinton they went to sleep, didn't lose a wink of sleep knowing she was going to be president. So we know that they had 4 years to beef this thing up, but it also cost the globalization, the New World Order plan. Why? They had to release COVID because they were too scared of a Trump administration, what they were doing. It started attack day one, and once Russia collusion fell off, what happened? Boom. Tomorrow, Antonio, did you know tomorrow is the anniversary of when COVID first started? When the first lockdown starts tomorrow. All right? What is it, 2019? Tomorrow is the anniversary. We literally went into lockdown. Now, when did COVID stop? COVID officially stopped the day that Russia invaded Ukraine. You understand? Like, we can see this clockwork for what it is. This is all a game. This is, and they were not, according to the 2030, was supposed to even release COVID until like 2025, 26. Again, what happened to the bird flu? They slaughtered hundreds of millions of chickens. Now we're trading eggs out on the street like, like it was drugs. And guess what? All of a sudden, Trump's president, well, right before that, you had this huge epidemic coming up your way. Bird flu. They were going to try to start. I believe if Kamala Harris was in office, we'd be in full lockdown right now. You see the playbook. It's wide open for us to see.
Yep. They would have tried it. They would have did it again.
I tell you what, this is insanity. Absolute insanity.
It is. And we not poised to go into the gold, on the trajectory to go to golden age here in Georgia. The only thing that's trying to pull us and steer us into it is, people that are doing the work, that are trying to make a difference.
That's right.
And I don't know how we get there without having an America First governor, because he has a lot of power. And I know I keep bringing that up, but that is so important. That's the chief magistrate in there should not be a such thing as like a rogue DA or like a sanctuary city. We have a governor, for crying out loud. You see what Donald Trump, you actually think he would allow, if he during the president, he would allow the guys that's down on the border to be like, oh yeah, I want to be rogue right now. No, you're getting fired and you're getting pulled out of here. We're going to get you out of here like ASAP, and we're going to get somebody in here to do the job. What are we told in our state, Roy? Oh, you got to wait till the next election.
That's right.
No, that's bull crap. The Constitution is king. And when they're violating those oaths, the attorney general, the governor should be stepping in, making sure that they're doing their job. Because remember, they're officers of the Constitution. They're there to serve the Constitution. And they're not doing it.
Supposed to. I think the Constitution is an absolute joke. We've gotten so far away from a constitutional government, right? the laws, the regulations. I mean, just think about like the number, and I'm sure Georgia's not the only state. 400 bills, okay? Lockstep. I talked to a representative before opening legislation and just had a friendly chat and said, hey, I know opening legislation's coming up. What do you guys got working? What do you got coming up? And the man said, oh, I don't know of anything. I think we're just starting off with a clean slate. 400 bills later. It's like nobody knows what's going on. They just show up, and whatever is spoon-fed to them in front of them, they're just going to, who needs to be on this bill? Oh, yeah, I owe you a favor, you know, and it has nothing to do with strengthening this nation. And we can all see where this is going, and I'm happy to report the casino resolution. It failed. It didn't make it again. Thank goodness. We still have Christian leaders in this state, and I've had plenty of arguments with people about a casino, for God's sakes. But I mean, this is the best we can come up with. The golden age is not happening in Georgia, and pardon my French, this is a piss poor legislative session to me. I know that we have some people out there, but look, talking about Agenda 2030, we're talking about digital IDs, right? There was a bill that was introduced in Georgia to protect citizens from banks being able to, freeze their money, use things against them. Guess what? And I don't have the bill number in front of me, but guess what? It was struck down. They didn't want to push it. I find that appalling. When you go back and look at Canada, the trucker, not the trucker, but the trucker incident where they froze. I mean, what kind of message are you sending to us people? I mean, we've got digital IDs coming. We've got data analytical centers coming in this state. Georgia is now going to be they're going to have the most data centers. They already do. I think they're in the top 3 right now. But when Atlanta gets done, the metro area, they're going to have another 30,000 acre like data management center, complex built, where basically Atlanta is going to be the hub of all this data that we're using and putting. It's like, what kind of future are we building for this state? What kind of future I can't see it.
Well, the lady told me today, Roy, that in North Alabama they have a solar farm built with ARPA money, and she said that the governor will basically do anything to get these federal funds flowing into the state. And that's the same thing that we're doing down here in Georgia. They want a Green New Deal. At Alabama Speaker of the House, she told me, she said before 2014, the guy was a Democrat. Now he go from that to a Speaker of the House. I ain't saying people can't switch parties, but the things that they're doing is in line with the green agenda. She said all 50 states, every single one of them, have taken funds that position them to do the things that the wealth wants them to do for Agenda 2030.
That's right. Where's Doge on this? Now look, I'm not criticizing. I want to get to Thomas Massey here in a minute, but we have all of these wonderful things going on with the Trump administration. Now, I'm not. Believe me, I was fit to be tied about the Epstein list, and we're not going to talk about the Epstein list. Now, there's no point in talking about the Epstein list. All I'm going to say about that is that Pam Bondi is the person that came out and said, hey, I got it on my desk, and I'm going to be releasing it to y'all. I didn't call up there and ask her. When they told us they were going to release the files on JFK, MLK, RFK Jr., or, JFK Jr.
MLK, yeah, but all of that.
They are the ones that come out and said it. I said, great. I said, maybe the Epstein files will be released 6 months from now, right? And I'm laying this out here because y'all think we're crazy for talking about this, okay? Mm-hmm. But they're the ones that said that. And I said, okay, they're going to release it. And then Kash Patel, right, when he was going through his hearings, he said on my first day the Epstein files will be released. I didn't say that. I didn't ask him to say that. And then here you go, Pam Bondi, who goes and gives a freaking binder notebook to 2 or 3 influencers that has nothing in it. It has more redacted than actually what is out that we can verify. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've got a truckload, and we've sent this guy packing. We gave him a dozen roses and a box of chocolates and said, here's your pension. You go on home. They did that, not me. And then there's a truckload somewhere they're going through. All right. Yep. Now all of a sudden I said I wouldn't get into it. That was not me. That was you guys doing that. That was all these Fox News appearances promising us. I'm done with it. It's not like I want to see these things anyway. What I want is the truth to come out. But again, Trump is doing wonderful things. Doge is doing wonderful things. And then a taxi cab driver in Kansas puts on a black judge robe and says, nope, we're not going to allow you to do it. And then the freaking Supreme Court says, yeah, I think you're right. You got to honor this crap. What is going on here? Look, we can celebrate all day long. We're talking about $1.9 billion of Stacey Abrams that we'd have never found out all that. Guess what? If we don't have a Congress that acts, if we do not have a government that will put this in writing and stop these things, it will start back up in a stroke of a pen. What is there to celebrate if we're not making progress here?
It will. I put the same thing you said about Pam Bundy out. I said, hey, she the one went around and did this tour.
Yes.
Said what she was going to do. And then y'all, I get scolded for saying I ain't got much faith. Oh, you need to do that. Hey, she set the dates. She said what she was going to do. And it's like, we're not supposed to take that into an account. If she had to say it like you said, well, I'm working on this, maybe in maybe 6 months we need to go through these files. We need to make sure the kids information and things
redactions, I get it.
And then we're going to do everything. We're going to get it out, and we'll come back and give you guys another update. She went on a tour, like you said, Fox News saying everything she's going to do, and then nothing happens.
Look, there are pictures of boxes of CD-ROMs, files, hard drives, all this stuff. How are you going to stand up there, be the Attorney General, and be like, well, I didn't know any of that stuff existed. Everybody and their brother knows it existed. Now, there's a caveat to that, right? Obviously, there's I'm not even going to mention it, but obviously there's certain intelligence agencies around the world that had something to do with all of this, right? You're telling me it's a national security risk. I'm just not buying that. Look, we were promised arrests. We were promised that we would have justice. We have not had justice yet, okay? And I'm not even saying my patience is growing thin. I'll be happy. He's already outperformed my wildest imaginations, okay? But, dear Lord, I mean, what is it going to take to get some justice?
How much more would we be seeing if his team was actually doing even half as much, as he has done, in my opinion? And I'm not discounting the guys on the border who actually have, been up under his, but I'm saying in like the DOJ and different little places like that.
Right. I know they got to have time, and I'm not out here rushing. It's just we've got information coming at us at breakneck speed. And sometimes we got to pick and choose what we focus on, right? And it just feels like sometimes we're getting gaslit in one direction, and you got that hopium out that something's going to break, something's going to happen. You're actually going to have justice. Just going back to Colton Moore, we can't even get a video of a man getting assaulted at the Capitol in plain color into a courtroom, and we can't even get a judge, the same judge who signed the obstruction of justice or the obstruction warrant, right, at the very beginning, the day me and you were in Fulton County. But they're going to look at all of this stuff, and they're going to say, nah, I don't think anybody was assaulted. I'm not issuing a warrant. How on earth can that be so? Are we that broken of a nation? Are we that broken in the justice system? If we can't even get a simple warrant in a trial for a man who pushed our senator down, how do we think that we're going to get arrests on a federal level? That's what I want to know.
That was supposed to be a slam dunk.
No, they sent this guy packing, this FBI, the Southern District, right? Everybody's sitting there. I was like, okay, this guy's a derelict of duty. I would be calling up the Green Berets right now to go to the Southern District and take over the entire building, right? The military. It's fully warranted. This guy said, heck no, we're not going to do. No. Well, they baked him a birthday cake and said, see you later, pal. What?
I know.
What did they do, all right, to the Secret Service when Donald Trump was almost killed? They did the same thing to the woman that was over the Secret Service. They let her do her 15 minutes on camera, and then she retired to the Jelly of the Month Club. There was no arrest. We still have no official statement on what happened there.
Yep.
You know, we don't have anything. We're still out here in the mud. I know that Cash Patel Prey is going to get to it, but guess what? She got off the hook, and then the next guy got questioned, got off the hook. There's no justice here, man. I'm getting a little tired of it.
Do you think might be a reason and part of it is our government itself within is just so compromised that if you know, it's kind of like having a house and they just got a whole bunch of paint over it, then all of a sudden you put your finger on one part and your finger go through it, and then the more you touch, the more in that house you be like, man, this thing's got termites, you know, this the floor is sinking over here, you know, it's rotten wood over here. It's, you know, I mean, that's what I'm beginning to think.
Me
Roy.
too. I don't.
This thing is way too rotten to even just kind of deal with. I don't know anymore on some levels.
You may be on to something, my friend, because I've always said this, that I felt like I took a step back, and not joining the Republican Party, right? And that's not what I mean, but I always felt like I took a step back in like getting into politics, right? Because it's almost a lost cause. And every time you find something or find a way to correct it, you either get your hand slapped, or you get told to shut up, or you get told by your own representatives, like, well, we can't bring that up, right? You said this today on your show. Several people have said this. They've said it to me. They've said it to you. Oh, no. We can't touch that in the Senate. You bring something like that up, you're going to get Colton Moored, basically. You're going to get shunned to the side. Like, they will not even let people bring these to light. Look at Senate Bill 303, for example. Barely got a hearing, right? And I've not heard how the hearing went. But that right there would fix the election system just like that. It's going to be the biggest uphill battle to get that thing moving.
It is. We don't have men of integrity.
No.
And then we sit back, you know, I heard a certain person the other night during their speech saying, well, hey, you know, yeah, and I get it. We got to be nice. We got to be cordial. But, man, it ain't getting us nowhere, Roy.
No,
I mean,
I don't even think incremental is getting us anywhere. Like, why would you look? If this is what I'm saying, this is Republicans versus Republicrats. If the tables were turned tomorrow, let's just say tomorrow, 2026 is tomorrow, and this state goes from Republican control to Democrat control, okay? Do you think for 1 second that the Democrats would waste any time whatsoever to incrementally get anything done?
Oh, no. They rolling hard.
Right.
They're rolling hard.
Do you think they would?
What Schumer and them was doing.
That's right.
I mean, rolling hard. Look at our border. Look at all the thousands of millions of people that's coming here. They're not wasting no incremental time.
No, they would come up with the most. They would go back to like 2017, the most draconian gun bill you could come. You will be burned at the stake if you own an assault rifle. Okay, and they would codify that into law tomorrow. Yet we are having to inch our way up this ladder, and we're having to dance around issues, and we're having to worry. No. This is not working. We need to be full frontal and taking advantage of every single opportunity that we have to fix all of this stuff. And when you're telling me that, a week ago, they found $1.9 billion going to Stacey Abrams and nobody knew about it, it's on their radar, do you think we're fixing anything? I don't see it.
Yep, and I don't even believe that. I mean, I believe she got access to the money, but nobody knew about it, man. I ain't buying that.
No. Okay.
They know about that money.
All right, so I want to move on because we do have some good comments, and this is a call-in show. I'm keeping my eyes on the phone. Anybody who wants to call in, I know we got some viewers
what's
here.
The phone number so I'm gonna type it in on the comments.
It's 423-661-6752. We would love to hear from some people tonight because we're just over the hour mark, so we won't stay on long. But if we get a couple good calls in here now, we'll do this thing. So I want to bring this up really quick because I just found it interesting today. This is the Thomas Massey part. And I'm just going to read this. I'm pulling it up now. I'm going to read what he put because I want to make sure people understand where I'm coming from here. He says, who wants to tell them by continuing 2024 appropriations into 2025 with a continuing resolution, Congress just locked in a large portion of the Biden agenda for the first 9 months of Trump's presidency. Okay? These two propositions are not compatible. We had to do a CR that extends Biden spending levels to September because we don't have 60 Republicans in the Senate. Number two, we will pass conservative spending bills in September. So, look, I have watched all of the videos. I seen the War Room video on Thomas Massey. We can all throw rocks. But somebody put a comment up to me today, and I'm not mad at anybody, the person, but it got me to thinking. They said, just one of them, and I appreciate all comments, right? Said either you're with Trump or you're against Trump. And I want to address that tonight, and I want you to help me, Antonio, because Donald Trump is not infallible. He is a man like everybody else. This is where the MAGA movement, they get called by the left, like, oh, you're treating him like he's a deity, like he's God and all this stuff, right? And I'm sitting here like, no. But when people say those kind of things, like either you're with Trump or you're against Trump, we're talking about a difference of opinion here. That to me is scary, because if that's the way people feel out there, that either if Trump sneezes and you don't have a tissue there ready for to blow his nose, like you're an enemy of the state. We are killing ourselves with that kind of thought, man. Like,
we can't roll like that.
No,
we two sides of it is, like I was saying, we talked offline earlier. It's just like our senator. Yeah, well, I would say our senator, but I say the people's senator. I know it's your senator up in 53rd district. People like Colton Moore, who is going to vote their values no matter what's going on. We have to respect those guys. On the flip side of that coin, and I get it, we should never be like some cult. Oh, you go this way, no matter what, you go in this direction. No, we need good opposite opinion, because that's what makes us better. That's what makes us different. We're free thinkers in the party. Now, if it was a situation where Trump sat down with everybody and say, hey, this is my plan or whatever, I would like for you guys to support it. And even if you had a guy or two that didn't quite get it, I mean, I don't think it's worth this big of a distraction going on right now at this point in time. A, and two, to just putting the guy completely on ice behind it. I mean,
right.
It's no. I mean, he's trying to stand on the principle of what he believes, and it's a good thing to try to be fiscally responsible. I know they need this quick CR, everything to keep everything going. So I just don't think it's worth burning the house down on one side of this thing. I mean, I
agree. And I'll tell you, I didn't get a chance to talk to Derek Grayson today, but I reposted something that he had put and something that Hank Sullivan had put. I'm a huge fan of Hank Sullivan. He's way smarter than me, and he's way more dialed in. But when he writes something, you pay attention. And he had a really good point that I can bring up if need be. But the thing is he's right. This whole fiat currency system is fake. It's all blown up out of proportion, and they're trying to fix that, right? I don't want anybody out here to think that that I would be mad if this CR passes. I understand what the game plan is, right? But so rarely do you have people like Thomas Massey who are principled enough to stand up for the same thing. And you go back and you look at the past CRs and what he said about them, exactly how they play out. He's right. Now, am I going to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt that we pass this CR and come September, we're going to have things change? Absolutely. But I think Donald Trump went a little bit too far in shaming him, and then turn around and trying to talk about primary him. Especially what really got me was he compared him to Liz Cheney. That just made me mad. I'm like,
yeah, no, that's a much bridge too far.
Yeah, you got to be able to sit in a room and be able to agree with people and disagree with people and not look at the enemy. So many times I've found in the Republican Party and in certain groups, and this is what's the problem with our grassroots, is that we'll sit here and we'll debate something or somebody, and then all of a sudden your entire livelihood of your participation is based on whether you are going along with what they want you to do or not. And I think that's a dangerous place to be in, right? Because nobody here is right 100% of the time. Nobody has all the answers. And you cannot just alienate somebody because they don't have the same, they're not going to vote the same way as you or whatever on this. We all have our ways to look at things, and I don't think anybody's criticizing the CR, obviously. But if you listen to what he says, it's the same thing. Why couldn't you stop this and fix some of this, and at the very least vote on these appropriations, single-handedly instead of the entire bill? We've been wanting it for so long. But I don't think it's that black and white, man. I don't think that disagreeing with Donald Trump or criticizing him for something that he's said or done that you don't like is grounds for either you're with him or you're against him. That's, to me, we've got to keep the checks and balances all the way up.
Yeah.
We just talked about Pam Bondi, right? All we're doing is checking and balancing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so that's my take on that. You got anything to add to that?
No, that's fair. I believe. I think that's fair and balanced, and that's what we need to be doing. And I just think that this whole thing is just like a big distraction right now.
It is.
We got to get. I mean, let's put the energy right now into the Epstein files or whatever.
Yeah.
Or ICE
let's
operation.
Pass the CR. Go ahead and pass it, right? Because you're getting cab drivers in Kansas that are blocking you from firing employees, right? Our justice system is completely broken. So what does it matter at this point if we pass this CR or not? Because the minute you don't pass the CR and fund whatever crap that goes along with it, you're going to get sued into oblivion anyway. So at this point,
let's go ahead and pass it so we can get focused on what we need to.
Sure.
I mean, they passed the CR last time, which got us jammed up right now.
Yes.
Which is what the Steve Bannon kept on talking about. Johnson is really the guy to be mad at, because he's the Speaker of the House. Is supposed to be make sure they got the appropriate 12 appropriations bill I believe they supposed to had, and they didn't do it. They kept going home, and Bannon kept saying, "Hey, y'all need to stay here. Stop going home, and getting on vacation. Let's power through the Christmas break." But everybody wanted to go home.
Yep, that's 100% right.
Do the work.
I pray for Donald Trump, and I pray for all these people that this dream team. Immediately people coming out and attacking Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about this vaccine and that vaccine. I'm trying not to go there. I'm trying to give these people a little space. Pam Bondi, the same thing, because I don't know what the woman's dealing with. I don't know. We know that we've said it. Our system it may be too far gone still. If you look at Georgia and what we're dealing with every single day in this state. So who knows what they have to deal with. And I know that, we went from cliff's edge and now here we are, March 12th. We say it every day. It's only been 3 months, man. It's less than that. So we have to give this stuff time. We're just super plugged in every day,
Yeah.
But I hope that things happen. The CR gets passed, and I hope that things can calm down between Massey and Trump, because we haven't had anybody since Ron Paul. I mean, Rand Paul's a great one. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discrediting that guy. But Ron Paul was a leader in this before we had internet and Twitter, where we knew everything 5 minutes after it's happened. And now, just from one man standing up, we're going to want to burn him at the stake just because he's been standing on this. I mean, come on, y'all. We got to be a little better than that, And grassroots remember that, All right, my friend, we're going to go and we're going to do some comments. We're running a little bit over. So nobody called in. Dad blast it. That's all right. So good to see you, David Naha.
We might need to just call Ray Blankenship and see what he's doing.
We could, but he's probably busy. Ray Blankenship was featured on, what was it called? He was featured on a show up in Bristol, Tennessee. He's got his own little company building these TFI relocators for the Ford Mustangs, the Fox bodies, and he got featured on TV for that. So we send a special shout out to Ray, man. He's worked really, really hard on that. I've seen his equipment, and he put his heart and his soul into that. So let's see. Looks like Patrick Balcom, he sent us a link. We'll go ahead and open that real quick. Good to have you, Patrick Balcom. Let's see. And by the way, if you're new here, like I said, thank you for joining. And okay, so he's got a GoFundMe. So everybody, Patrick Balcom has a GoFundMe in the comments to support Patrick's recovery and well-being, organized by Nina Anderson. So thank you for putting that link. And by the way, folks, before I continue the comments, I know a lot of you guys know we had a double murder homicide, or double murder suicide in the county over the weekend, and I was actually really close to my house. We actually went by right after it happened. We were out and about, and it was a big tragedy, and there was actually 4 people involved, and the third person involved, which was a SRO officer in the county, very well-respected man. I believe in about 50 minutes, 45 minutes, they're going to have to pull him off of life support. He is not going to be able to survive this, which will make it a triple homicide. And very, very tragic. We lost a retired state patrol and his daughter, and this gentleman who was an SRO officer and worked with law enforcement. My mother actually trained him when he first came on law enforcement a couple decades ago. But anyways, we're praying for that family tonight and all those affected by it. It was a bad situation over the weekend, and so our hearts go out to all the families, to Mr. Dunn and their families, so, and the Denny's as well. Wow. So yeah, it was bad, man. Carol Streeter, good to see you. Thank you for sharing. Joanne, good to have you. Says Catherine is a great lawyer. She absolutely is. I know if I ever get in some trouble, I think I'm gonna call Catherine. So
see if she can see if she can bond you out.
That's right. Dorothy Michelle, good to have you. She says hey to both of us. Thank you, Dorothy. You're wonderful soul there. Peach State 77, good to have you. Says Georgia lawmakers and enforcers have no regard for our constitutional rights. They don't. They don't at all. So, crap, it's showing I missed a call. Let me make sure I didn't.
You had to call somebody back.
No, yeah, I might have to call somebody back. We want. Oh, Lord, that's Charles Stoker. Charles, you calling the wrong number. We might get Charles on here for a second. I'll let you be the judge of that. But let's see. Judge Peach State says no concern for violating their oaths. None. I mean, we're seeing it in real time, right? Athens, Tennessee, 1946. Look it up. Just saying. That's funny you mentioned that, Peach State, because I had a whole conversation about the Athens, Tennessee, 1946 over the weekend, and it's something I need to write that down and look that up. There's some really good stuff out there. There's also one on the Georgia Mafia that somebody was telling me about. I'll have to send you a link. Apparently, it's a YouTube channel that goes way back on the Georgia Mafia, the actual whatever. Anyway, what they were telling me about it was pretty wild. So, Jeffrey Cruz, good to have you. Says hi, small town from Florida, Fort Lauderdale. Wow, that's great, man. Welcome from Fort Lauderdale. That's awesome, man. Peach State, the system is also doing citizens of the 53rd wrong and setting bad precedents. You are not kidding. I think you probably heard Catherine. We're waiting to see. They're going to be able to appeal this and take it further. So at the very beginning, it still doesn't look bad. You know, I can't believe that we didn't get that, but guess what? It's going to go further. So. And Peach State says, same for law enforcement in Chattooga with commissioner physically attacking a man. Yeah, there's a situation in Chattooga County. I think I told you about that, Antonio, where there was a man assaulted. We're just waiting to see how that unfolds. A lot of stuff going on, man. A lot of authority type issues that are happening in all around. You know, and if it wasn't people of authority, they would be arrested and jailed right on the spot. You know.
Yep. And it's funny how that works.
Yeah. Sharon Holland, as always, thank you so much for being here tonight. Jan Benefield, discrimination. I don't know what she means by that, but I'm sure it was something that went with it. Lisa Adams says, hey, y'all. Hey to Lisa.
Lisa.
Yeah, I've sent a special shout out. She filmed the Whitfield County GOP last night. We got to see Josh McCoon, who is running for his position as state chair again, and we got to see that. It's out on Lisa's page if you guys want to check that out. Jan, Brandon, Sheffield, good to see you. Hello, hello, Lisa says, and didn't put the first hand on anybody. That's talking about Colton, absolutely. She uses the word Republicans. Yeah, that's about the truth. I mean, oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. So, Richard Schroeder with the win. Billions. Amen, Richard. Richard, you should call in. You know, what do y'all think? Do you think that a $2 billion transaction, if it hadn't been caught, just whisks on by in Georgia to Stacey Abrams, and all of a sudden they got all this money to play with, and then nobody bats an eye or says a word? You think that's even possible? I mean, oh goodness gracious! He says, here. Let's see. Richard and Lisa says, Lisa Adams, I loved your video of McCoon telling us what a great job he has done. It was very painful. But like I said, folks, y'all watch that video, check it out, see what you think. Carol Streeter says, Roy, Stacey Abrams' sister lives in Albany, Georgia, which is next door to DeSoto. Yes, so I think that was the town. I think what she's referring to is the town, DeSoto, that they went and put all the free appliances in and everything. Which would make sense, right? I mean, you know, obviously. She says, Peach State, they're not scared of us. That's the problem. There's a lot of problems, girl. A lot of problems. She says, Georgia Republicans are not Republicans. They're Dixiecrat, Rhino Dems running as Republicans. Yeah, I mean, Republicrats. Give it a name. Tell me that we're wrong. Antonio, do you think you're wrong? Do you think you're being too overly critical of the Republican Party? I mean, we're a part of the Republican Party. We're out here every day trying to make a difference. But
man, you can judge a tree by its fruits. We've been in Georgia. I mean, we've been in charge for how many years? As far as we Republicans had a Republican governor, legislature. Like, it go back to what you said. Why all this slow walking? I mean, look at what the Democrats did when they got in charge in Washington or wherever they get. Or look at the counties. They roll and they roll hard. You know, we can't even get election integrity taken care of in this state.
No.
If
Georgia,
we did poll Roy and ask, you know, I don't know, 300, just say 300 people, just 300 Republicans, just randomly from all ends of the state, and say, hey, would you want to get rid of the machines, and you want to go to hand counted, manually counted paper? I would say it's going to be at least 75 to 85%. And we can't even do that.
You just gave me an epiphany, Antonio. Remember when we did the casino gambling episode, and we showed how they used one call-in poll to gauge their response on trying to put a constitutional measure as a referendum, right? And what did that article said that they polled over 800 people in the state, and it was overwhelmingly for casinos in Georgia, right? What do you think would happen if they polled 800 people in the state of Georgia about the Dominion voting system?
Without a doubt.
But you know that's trying to make it through every single year, right? But do you think they would release a poll?
Oh no.
They would have 800,000 people in the state of Georgia from all parties and walks that would say get rid of the system.
They would if they did Democrats and Republicans.
You dang right. That is insane. All right, so Jonathan Ledwell. Oh my Lord, we got Jonathan Ledwell on tonight. Can you believe this is one of my old school boys right there? He says, Roy Hamrick, don't go through Atlanta. Yeah, I hear you, Atlanta. Whew. Yeah, Atlanta is rough to go through. I got broke down there, man, last year. That was rough, a rough day. Richard says, Doge is coming. Dr. Corsi is paving the way for Trump and team to totally transform the voting registry and voting process. Richard, I hope you're right. I mean, I wish I could have been down there with y'all. I watched the footage that Antonio had filmed. I still haven't got to see his speech at the Madison Forum. So if anybody out there has got that, can send that to me. I haven't looked on Ted Metz's page yet, but that was amazing that we had Jerome Corsi out really paying attention to this. So I mean, look, all eyes are on Georgia. I mean, I think Arizona is probably a close second. They're really fighting out there. We just don't get all the juicy tidbits. But Georgia is a ground zero still to this day. I mean, you got to remember, man, our state Secretary of State was the one that caused an impeachment of the president, for crying out loud. So, Jonathan wants to know if Putin the bad guy. That's a loaded question. I mean, is Putin? I don't know if you can say Putin is a good or a bad guy other than just a player in this insanity scenario that we have going on here. I mean, if you want to, people are probably going to get mad at me, but I'm going to say America has been the bad guy for a long time. We're the ones that have been, dipping our hands in color revolutions and creating these scenarios. And we spent this entire last half of the century in a Cold War with Russia, only to turn around and then blame them for a collusion hoax back in 20. Russia has been the bad guy for as long as I can remember. Oh, Lord. Here we go.
Well,
looks like we got a call coming in. Boom. Hello. Caller,
hello,
can you hear us?
There?
Yes, you have 2 minutes, caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name?
Charles Stoker.
Oh, God. Somebody batten down the hatches. It's Charles Stoker. Good Lord. Antonio, I'm going to go ahead and apologize beforehand.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Antonio knows that I'm bringing the truth here. Don't make me come down there on you guys.
All right. We're going to give us your take. We got a couple minutes here. We don't want to keep Antonio too late.
Okay. I want to compliment you on your idea of stop begging and demanding. That's a good idea. I want to give you a little update. Well, you're a little bit weak on the supporting Massey. I think he needs to be our next president.
Okay.
2028, but not too bad, but a little bit weak. I'm standing with Derek Grayson on that. And also the border, you have to understand that Colonel Douglas McGregor talked about the infiltration and the bribery that the Mexican drug cartel has on bribing all the way from the border patrol people to the police officers to shipping ports and congressmen and all the way up the line. They got big money in.
And who do you think the money flows through? What did you say? The government? Our own government, the money flows through. I mean, look at the drug trade of the 70s, 80s, 90s. All of this stuff flows back to the government. USAID projects, Secret Service, spook projects. The whole thing's connected.
Yes, sir. And the CIA are big time operatives. FBI also, and they're standing their ground, many of them, and thumbing their nose and destroying documents. And we need to stand on our hind legs and protest that. That's not acceptable.
No, I mean, I will say one thing, and Charles, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you for your call, sir. Appreciate you as always. One thing that I think that I have zero complaints about is the border. He shut that border down just as quick. I mean, promises made and promises kept, y'all. I mean, I'm with it.
He did.
But wow. Now we get Kash Patel, we get Pete Hegseth, we get all of these people in place, Dan Bongino, that to really go after them. They've already started with these criminal invasion, the illegal immigrants that are criminals. I'm telling you, what is it, Tom Homan? Yeah, dude, they're kicking some tail here. So we're very happy, and we want to see an end to a lot of that, right?
Oh yeah. Okay,
so let's go down. He said. Let's see. Jonathan says our government is the most corrupt. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Seems like we're the evil empire a lot of the time. Jonathan says, "Don't say assault rifle, Roy." Yeah, I got you. There is no such thing as an assault rifle, and I did say that on purpose, though. And Pete State says I disagree with Trump on Massey. Massey is America first. He walks the walk. He does. I mean, he's not infallible either. I watched this video from the War Room, and I get it, and I go back to the same thing, man. Steve Bannon got kicked out on the first administration. That was the worst guy you could kick out of the administration. Y'all remember Trump doing that? I remember the night that they were showing the videos where he kicked Bannon out. Could you imagine if Bannon would have stayed in there? He might have actually helped Trump change. I mean, Bannon is a true 100% warrior who went to prison over this stuff, all right? But Donald Trump was wrong for kicking Steve Bannon out, okay?
It was a bad move.
So, yeah, I get it, folks. But, again, got to lay off on the Massey.
Yeah.
All right, he says, example is Trump is human, not all-knowing God. Yes. Iron sharpens iron. Freaking men. If anyone deserves that, it's Ray. He's a great patron and friend. We'll have to go into that one night. Yeah, Ray's been through it, man. Antonio. Whew. Okay, let's see. Richard Schroeder says, I think it stinks. Stacey's money. Yeah, it stinks, doesn't it? And then Carol said, then Kemp didn't vote for Trump. Absolutely. Pete Stacey says, y'all know if the red flag bill in health clinics and schools went forward. I don't know of that. Because I think it was in hearing stage, right? I think it made it through crossover, but it's got to go to the House, I believe. I don't know, but we'll check on that. And then Lisa says, don't forget about the AI generating per Jevin Jensen buildings. They just voted to put in South Whitfield County, 250,000 square foot buildings. Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother, I didn't even get to tell you about that. They're putting in these big Bitcoin mining operations, man. I'm telling you, Whitfield County, their commissioners pulled a fast one the other night on them, and Whitfield County, man, there's just a lot of stuff going on over there. Our county commissioners ought to be ashamed. We had someone stand up at the meeting last night and announce that's right. I'm going to try to interview him, Lisa, too. And she said, Pete State says, State Bureaus 2. Carol Streeter says, Georgia's the most corrupt state in the USA. I mean, I'd like to believe it. And Christopher Rayleigh, good to see Christopher Rayleigh tonight. It says, check out YouTube, a channel called Shields of Shame to see how this state's run. Absolutely. We'll be writing that down. And Richard says it's in judicial 268. Okay, so the answer to that question for the bill that you were referring to, the red flag health clinics, it's in judicial 268. So it looks like it's going through the process. So hadn't been voted on yet. Shields of shame. So anyway, guys, we're going to get off here because I'm going to tell you, Antonio has to be wore out from the show that they did today because it was fire. I still have to listen to what I missed, which I will be doing that tonight. So I just want to thank you for coming on short notice with me and helping me out. I think we got everything covered. And if I'd have been by myself, I'd have probably started cussing and ranting and so I'm thanking you for being here, just keeping me level, man.
Man, it's always a pleasure. Hang out with the small town underground audience, man. Really, truly great patriots, great people.
And I want to
into the show.
I want to say something too. We're not professionals. I can't stand the term influencer. I don't want to be an influencer. What I want to do is focus on truth. Now we're going to be talking about this, but I'm when I get up here, I'm not right. I'm not trying to be right, and I dang sure ain't trying to be an authority figure in anything. Well, I think what we're trying to do is just work together, figure out the truth of the matter, right? Figure out the best way to go for all this stuff. But, sometimes, like I had all this stuff laid out for the show in the last 48 hours. And, family and jobs, we work for a living.
Yep.
And we do this because we want to do this. We want to be here. We want to be connected. We're not doing this because we're getting paid or that we're, trying. Unless I win the lottery, then we're going to build us a InfoWars studio, right? But until that happens, man, we're just playing. We got families, we got friends, we got things going on, so we can't hit all this, all the time. And trust me, I could have probably done live every night and just run my mouth. But it means a lot. To have all you folks come on the show, especially now. It's been going on like 2 years, and watching Antonio, your show grow and how much time that you spend crafting your show. You know, me, I'm just kind of like, I'm going to throw it all up in there, and one of these days I'm going to learn. We all do it differently, but
we do. My stuff been crashing out. I'm trying to get it better. Just, you know,
but yeah, but you know,
man.
I want to thank you, you know, and there's so many other podcasters out there, you know, and I know a lot of people might not like Brian K. Pritchard and stuff, but when I watch some of his segments too, and, you know, Kim's Coffee Talk, and there's more coming. Yeah, I talked to a friend today who I'm going to hook up with to get a podcast machine, and he's going to start doing interviews, and we're getting more boots on the ground, and that's what we want. We want to connect the community. If we're going to be the future of media, right? It's got to be all in one. We all got to do it together. But
that's right. We're
growing right now, and don't think that we don't know, right? And that, to me, I don't know how you feel, man, but to me, it feels like a bigger responsibility to come on here and not waste anybody's time.
It is.
I want to get things right. And so when I start getting more and more people join and more people reaching out, and believe me, there's people reaching out to you and me about getting on the show, and we got so many things, but I want to just thank you, Antonio, and thank the viewers for sticking with us. It means a lot.
Yeah, the viewers, man. Yep.
And
without a doubt.
You know, just, I mean, like, I'm overwhelmed, you know, inside. So
it's a lot of support, you know, when the both of us, we down at the Capitol, you know, people, you know, thank us for the work we doing, and all that means a whole lot to us.
It does.
It really, really does.
And, you know, I think it's great that, like, we can share so much stuff. I think it's great that, like, Ted Metz can be down and he can film this, and then he'll text that and say, hey, here's this link. Boom. Yep. I think it's great that Lisa Adams was going out here and filming you know, the GOP when nobody else can do it, you know. Yep. That right there is just getting the truth out and working together. That, to me, that's what real grassroots is, right? We're not up here cracking whips and screaming and burning people to the stake. We just want the truth. That's all. And if you're not part of that truth, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to get out of the way, because we're gonna expose the truth. Because if we don't do it from the ground up, you know, you see how hard it is to top down. It ain't going to do it. So,
it ain't going to happen for itself. That's right.
But anyway, I know I've kept you so long, man. You get the last word, and we'll get out of here.
Hey, man, it's always a pleasure hanging out on Small Town Underground. Great audience here. Great patriots. I'm looking forward to probably maybe we'll put together a meetup, something like that, where we can just kind of get in the room with each other, just kind of hang out and chill, you know, talk to one another and just do a little bit of fellowship. You know, there's a time for that. I know the session is in right now, and everybody's working hard trying to get stuff done. And, you know, it's going to be like this from this point on out. I believe it's just going to be a struggle session for us to just try to continue to fight for our nation, fight for our children, support good candidates. And there's going to be some contentious moments going forward. It's a part of it, you know. So I'm excited. I always appreciate coming on here with you, the work that you're doing. In case Roy don't do it, make sure y'all support his podcast. We both forget. I forget to tell people to make a contribution. If you can, if you're able to, you know, put up a couple of dollars, it goes a long way. And we appreciate you guys' support.
Yeah, and thanks to all the boots on the ground, and thanks to all the ones that are out there making the phone calls, doing it. Thanks for the Richard Schroeder's out there, all of the guys, everybody, the Clay Periques out there that are just hammering this away. We're just overflowed. Get ready for your Republican conventions. They're all coming up. We need good, strong patriots to lead the way into 2026. So, all right, folks, that's it for the night. You guys have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time.
Legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
He said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.